Hi there, I'm Lynne Friery, part of Not Just Travel, Lynne and Scott Friery. I work with my husband and we started the business in November 2018 and I went full time from June 2019. And these are my top 5 favourite holidays that I have booked and customers have been. Number 5 is our honeymoon in Thailand. We had friends who recommended us to this couple and we had a number of phone calls, chatted about what they were looking for, a real uncertainty initially about what do we want. You know, they had an idea about what they wanted from the holiday, but not necessarily where. So from our knowledge, what they wanted, we chatted about 3 or 4 times over telephone chats, getting to know each other. And I went off and sort of built a couple of draft itineraries with the suppliers to sort of say, right, based on what you want, where you want to go, these are what we can find. So there was Vietnam, Thailand, Hawaii, so a real variety. So when I spoke to the clients, spoke about what they wanted and basically looked at the itineraries, chatted through what they thought fitted their sort of basically top sort of ideas of what they wanted from the honeymoon, and we come up with a twin centre in Thailand. So the first week they spent in Cape Panwa, which was near Phuket, a beachfront resort, just really relaxed. And you know, I was getting Instagram pictures, links while they were away, telling us what an amazing time they were having, which is great for us, because at the end of the day, you want your customers to have a fantastic time, and what you have planned for them is exactly what they want. From that, they went on to Khao Lak for a week, and that's near Elephant Hill. So they wanted a mix of relaxation and being able to go and do different things, not just lying by the beach, but that was a big part of it, and going and seeing things while they were out and about. So it was great because that was one of our first sort of big honeymoons that we had done. We worked with, as I say, closely with the clients, worked really to understand exactly what they wanted, and at the end of it they came home, had an amazing time. I spoke to them on the phone after it and they couldn't thank us enough. We'd got them into a lounge on the way over. The hotels had given them rose petals in the bed, chocolates on the bed, because we'd got in touch with them beforehand to say, this is a wedding, you know, it's a honeymoon, can you please look after our special customers? And both hotels went out their way, they were fantastic. And that's kind of part of the service that we deliver, is we will contact all the hotels for our customers, and particularly for special occasions. You know, they are great to help us make that such a memorable and special occasion for the customers. My number 4 is an engagement trip to the west coast of America. So we had clients, again recommended to us through friends, who initially came for a twin centre in America, weren't quite sure what they wanted to do. Again, chatted with them about what they wanted, and we come up with San Francisco and LA. So we have been to San Francisco a couple of times ourselves, absolutely love it. So we were able to give them loads of tips and hints. So based on the budget that they had, we were able to recommend hotels, the best areas, what they could do in those areas. And same for LA, we decided on Santa Monica because it's such a huge city. You know, it was, where do you base yourself? So based on the fact they wanted some beach and some sunshine, we said, well, why not Santa Monica? So we sort of worked with them to get that, again, perfect trip, recommended, you know, loads of trips in San Francisco, organised Alcatraz for them, because that is a must in San Francisco, one of our favourite trips as well. The trip we organised also included a 2-day hop-on, hop-off bus. You could take the bus over the Golden Gate Bridge into Sausalito, which is the other side of the bay, and it's absolutely stunning. And we'd done that ourselves, and we were told it's actually where Otis Redding wrote Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, which we thought really quite interesting. But it's just such a stunning and really special place. But San Francisco itself is beautiful. So the customers had an amazing time, and we found out just before they went that they got engaged. So we got in touch with the hotel, and they were blown away. The hotel actually had them as guests of the day, welcoming them as soon as they came into the hotel. They'd upgraded their room, they had champagne, they had strawberries and chocolates for them. So the hotel really went out their way after we got in touch, just to make their stay even more special. And similarly, when they went down to Santa Monica, although we got in touch with the hotel, they'd initially said they couldn't really help us out much, but they had also upgraded them. They'd also got them champagne. So every other day we were getting an email or a message from the couple going, oh my God, this is amazing. So they'd done like Santa Monica Pier, they walked along to Venice Beach, they'd done Rodeo Drive, all the big things you know you have to do in LA, hired a muscle car, drove up and saw the sort of famous beaches round about LA. So again, they came back, had just such an amazing time. They said, you know, everything we'd done had made it even more special, and even so much so I'd been speaking to the customer's dad, because they wanted to arrange lounge passes as a surprise before they went because of the engagement. So since then we've had booked the dad on holiday. We're looking at booking their honeymoon. So their wedding's just on hold at the moment with COVID. But we've certainly been working really closely with the customers and their family now, which is amazing for future holidays. So number 3 in our list is the 70th celebrations on a Caribbean cruise. We absolutely love cruising, and this was a friend of a friend who had got in touch to say, can you help us find the perfect cruise? So we were absolutely yes. So we were able to recommend Royal Caribbean, which is our favourite cruise line, because it was such a range. There was young children, you know, friends of our age, and then their mum who'd turned 70, and the dad. So a real range. And having been on the Allure of the Seas, which we recommended, we were able to let them know just the range of facilities on the ship. You know, you've got all your dining options, your bars. For the young ones, there's kids clubs, and then for us young ones, obviously who were going, there's zip lining, there's surf machines, there's ice rinks. You know, every night there's shows, you can go for your dinner, drinks. There really is such a variety of things for families to do. So they absolutely loved the fact that we could tell them all this. We could give them, you know, all the sort of information about where to go, what to do. The cruise took them around the Caribbean. They stopped at Coco Key, which is one of Royal Caribbean's sort of private islands, and they got off and had a fantastic time. It's just newly getting built, so we were able to give them loads of information. Even when we booked it, we were able to sort of find them rooms that were right next door to each other, or across the hall from each other. So all that sort of assistance that we were able to do. We worked with our contacts at Royal Caribbean, and they got them champagne and strawberries in the room, which was fantastic. They were really blown away by that. They'd actually flown out to Miami for an overnight prior to the cruise, and we woke up, we were sort of texting them the day before they went, saying have a fantastic time. We woke up the next morning to a text saying that they had been moved hotels. When they arrived, there had been a leak. So we were able to get in touch with Royal Caribbean, organise a change of the transfer to take them from the hotel to the port, because obviously the hotel had changed, the transfer company would have turned up at the wrong hotel. We were able to contact the hotel they were actually moved to and say, listen, this is a really special occasion. Is there anything you can do to help, keep them calm? They arranged them some free breakfast, which was amazing. They thought this was great because they got up in the morning, they had their breakfast, they waited on the transfer that took them to the ship. So it's all these sort of little extras that we can help with, that you never want to think anything can go wrong on a holiday. But if it does, then we're one phone call, one text, one email, whatever away, and we will always pick up and deal with it. But at the end of the day, that was one day at the start of the holiday, but they had such a fantastic time on the cruise ship. We, spoke to them when they came back. They had loved it. They'd actually met up with family from Canada who came and joined them. So it really was a proper family occasion. And when they came back, we had organised 3 days in Miami, in Sunny Isles, which is sort of North Miami Beach. So you've got South Beach, North Beach, and then Sunny Isles. So again, we've been to Miami, we've done the cruises, so we're able to recommend sort of a good location for the family to go and be able to enjoy sort of the beachfront location, but maybe not too far from South Beach for the young ones that wanted to go out and party and leave Granny and Grandpa with the kids at the end of the day. We had also recommended about going down to Key West because we had done it ourselves, and they really liked the idea of it, and they drove down to Key West for the day. But after having went, they were like, we wish we'd actually been able to stay longer, and actually stayed in Key West. But unfortunately, they'd had to come back for sort of other family commitments because a couple of them are living in Australia now. But they came back and again, had just a fantastic time, and we were able to help them out in so many different ways before, during and after the cruise. So that was why that was one of our favourites. So number 2 for us is 40th celebrations in New York and Vegas. We absolutely loved this one because New York is one of our favourite cities. We've been 6 times now, so we feel that we can give a great amount of information and help to customers and do a lot of New York City breaks. But this one was even better because they were combining it with Las Vegas. And again, somewhere we've been 3 times. We got engaged there, we got married and went on honeymoon there, and we went back for my own 40th. So being able to just give loads of information and help with that was just, the customer was absolutely blown away. We actually met up with them because they were local and chatted through everything from where they wanted their hotels, what sort of hotels were in a good location, and there's so many hotels, a lot of it can come down to budget, so we can work really closely with customers, and which we did in this case, to say this is the best you can get for your budget. Again, we got in touch with the hotel, and they managed to give them an upgrade and some champagne and chocolate muffins in the room for the birthday celebrations. In New York itself, we have said, what is it you want to see? What is it you want to do? There is so much. So what we've done, they gave us an idea of what they wanted to see and do. So we worked up an actual draft itinerary. And we said to them, the best piece of advice we were ever given the very first time we went to New York was, plan your days so that you're not running all over Manhattan or the city every day. You want to focus sort of where you're going each day. So we looked at that and sort of planned their days best we could on what they wanted to do. So day 1, I think it was, they were down World Trade Center. They'd done the World Trade Center Museum. They went over to Staten Island. They'd done Statue of Liberty. So that was all a really busy day. The next day we had them in Central Park. They'd done the horse-driven carriage. I think they ended up doing a bike ride themselves. We had booked and organised a New York attraction pass through one of our suppliers, who you can pretty much pick what you want to do. You can pick from like 3 attractions up to 10, I think, which is fantastic. It includes your Statue of Liberty, your Empire State Building, Top of the Rock, the museums, but a really great thing they include in is TV and movie tours. There's a couple there we've done ourselves, and it's just a fantastic way to see New York. I think that if you love movies, you love TV shows, you watch and you can see, oh yeah, that's exactly where it is. So there's one you can do around Central Park, we've done ourselves, and there's one you can do it's around sort of superheroes, so like all your Marvel, your Spider-Man movies, and there's another one they do it sort of quite generic, so this pass can do all that for you. And one of the customers, they decided they wanted to do the Gossip Girl tour. But it's great that you can choose what you want to do out of the, this attraction pass, and it's such good value for money. So like that, all these things we were able to share with the customers. We got them a Broadway show. We told them the bar to go to for some drinks before the show. It's called Lily's. They've got one up on, I think it's 49th Street, and when we went last September, we found one down downtown, which is sort of further south, maybe about 15th Street. So all these just little things, and people just were like, that is fantastic. They loved the fact that we could sort of give them that first-hand experience, and telling them where to go, what to do, what to see, to really sort of make their trip as special as possible, because you don't have a lot of time in these cities, so you want to maximise, your experience. And then the holiday wasn't even finished at that point. We still had Vegas to go to. At which point we were still able to tell them things to see and do, not just from our own experience, but we had other customers had went, and they went to the Mob Museum, something we'd never done, but told us how fantastic it was. So again, we were able to share that information, pass it on, and the customer went, said it was amazing, really interesting. But one of our top tips that, from own experience, we sort of passed on to the customers, we've passed on to friends in the past as well who have been, is go up the Stratosphere, work out when sunset is, go up to the bar, have a drink, and you can watch the sunset over Las Vegas. And then when you go for dinner, the restaurant's a revolving restaurant at the Stratosphere, and you're sitting having your dinner as the sun has set and the lights are starting to come up in Vegas. Is just magical. The most amazing things we managed to help the customer arrange as well was a Grand Canyon helicopter tour. Again, this is something we've done, and if you're going all that way to Las Vegas, you can't not do it. It's obviously just so synonymous with Las Vegas, and just one of those must-do sort of bucket list trips. So we managed to arrange that through one of our suppliers, and they done the picnic tour and flew back into Las Vegas as the sun was setting. They went right up the strip and come back down. They got a limo that picked them up at the hotel, that dropped them off at the airport, and same when they came back off the trip, they were able to get the limo back, champagne in the limo on the way over. So they had an absolute fantastic time. For a 40th birthday, it was just all really, really special. So number one for us was one of our trips we organised last year for a lovely couple. We went to an event that a friend was holding, and we got chatting to basically our customer who we have now, and we just spent most of the day on and off chatting. We had a stall there, and by the end of it, the customer was like, I really need to speak to you. I've been planning a trip to Australia for our retirement for the last couple of years. We've just done nothing about it. But after chatting to you, I really think you can help me, and I want you to help me. So we planned the trip of a lifetime for their retirement. We worked closely with one of our suppliers, and we got them business class flights out to Sydney. They spent time in Sydney, Brisbane, Cairns, Ayers Rock, Melbourne, and on the way home they came back through Singapore. So they just wanted to take in as much as they could, but enough time in each place that they could really get the feel for it, because obviously, you go all that way, you might never be back if you've spent all that time planning for it. We worked closely to give the customer what they were, you know, the experiences they wanted. We got them show tickets for the Sydney Opera House. They said you can't go to Sydney and not go to the Opera House, it's just so famous. They spent days just walking, seeing the Botanic Gardens, the harbour, you know, the harbour bridge. They just loved the city, spent their time just exploring it, sort of seeing places that we were able to recommend. My friend had lived there for a couple of years, so I was able to get some tips and hints to pass on. We sent them up to Brisbane after that, and again, they just love walking. So I'd got in touch with one of the tourist boards that I had met at an event, and I was able to get some really good bits of information, pass on some really great ideas for them to do there. So they were only there a couple of days, and then went up to Cairns. And from there, they got a boat trip out that we arranged for them to swim in the Great Barrier Reef. So they had an absolute ball. They just loved it. Said it was one of the most amazing things they've ever done. From there, they went over to Ayers Rock. And again, when they were there, we arranged the Sounds of Silence, which was a dinner event, but it was all loads of artistic work that had been done near Ayers Rock, and they showed us pictures afterwards. They'd actually sent us some pictures while they were away, bless. But when they came back, we met up and they showed us loads of pictures, and, you know, sunset over at Ayers Rock. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal just to see it, and they were just blown away. They said, you know, it's not something they'd kind of maybe thought about doing, but that was part of the sort of trip we'd recommended, and part of the supplier had sort of said, you know, if they're going all that way, you can't not do it. And it was effectively dinner under the stars at Ayers Rock. So it was just once in a lifetime sort of event, which they loved. From there, they went down to Melbourne, spent some time in the city, and again, we've got friends living in Melbourne that were able to sort of pass on loads of tips and foodie tours and things that they'd went and done, which was great. We organised some lounge passes for them in Melbourne, before they came home. And we'd actually arranged that through one of our suppliers who were in the middle of negotiating contracts with some Australian lounges. So it was great that we had those supplier relationships, that we could have that conversation to say, is there something you can do for our clients here? You know, spent a lot of money on this trip, and they got it organised for us, which was amazing. They pushed through the contract. And on the way home, the customer stopped in Singapore. And again, we've had some personal experience. So they explored Orchard Road, they went to Sentosa Island, they went and seen Raffles, the Marina Bay Sands, so all the sort of big things that you expect from Singapore. They had the last few days, I wouldn't say it was very relaxing, because again, they just love walking and spent loads of time enjoying the city. And they came home, as I say, we met up with them and chatted with them over tea and cakes, and they just showed us all these amazing pictures, all these memories that they created on this trip of a lifetime. And she has since booked a sort of family holiday to Florida for our family and herself, and she said, I wouldn't have done half of this if I hadn't met you at this event. And we've built up a really good relationship and a really good friendship with this customer now. And it's just lovely that you can do those things for your customer. And I think the most amusing thing is the fact that her son had sort of said to her, you will never go to Australia, you'll never arrange this trip. And after meeting us, we had, I think, we met her on, say, the Sunday, and it was arranged by the following weekend, and she was like, excuse me, what was that, son? She was able to say, I've met this amazing couple, they've helped me with this trip. And they just had an amazing time, and it's great to hear the stories when your customers come back and just, you know, tell you what a fantastic time they've had. And for us, that's what makes it, that's what we're here for, and that's what our service is all about.